Okay, we've all experienced that bloated feeling after a 5-course Christmas dinner, and we know that giving children sugary foods makes them go nuts. But how can we use this knowledge to influence our moods in a positive way?
According to nutritionist Cindy O'Meara, food can hold depression at bay, keep us calm and even amp us up. And new research out today reveals that a variety of foods at breakfast is directly linked to optimal mental functioning in teenagers. As for determining the gender of our offspring, if it's boys you want, hoe into the Cocoa Pops. Good morning. Didn't you love that earlier, the news report, when we're talking about the cereals, the food that you eat at breakfast, which will increase mental functioning amongst teenagers, and we're showing Cocoa Pops and Fruit Loops. They're not the ones, are they?
No, they're not the ones.
You're thinking fruit, you're thinking oats, you're thinking...
Yeah, like they did the study, and the way they did the study was they just did the three food groups rather than two. Whereas I would like to see the study done where the different types of food groups that we use, like protein, because protein increases dopamine and noradrenaline in the brain, which increases the alert chemicals of the brain, which makes you want to do things, get out to the world and make a difference, or do some activity at school with your brain.
So protein, well, tell us what kind of proteins, where will we get it?
Well, like eggs for breakfast is perfect, or mixing certain foods. So what I do is I make up like blueberry muffins, and in the muffins I put eggs, which have got protein, and I put nuts, and then by combining
I do that for morning tea.
Oh, that's perfect.
And after your advice last time, I'm now buying completely unbleached flour.
Well done.
Yeah,
oh,
see,
I'm making
listening.
a difference. I'm listening. You're listening.
Because that's the important part, isn't it? Because kids suddenly get to that sort of slow stage and then they reach for a sugary snack which doesn't sustain them.
No, and it doesn't. And by just giving them breakfast cereal, you're giving them a carbohydrate. And if there's nothing else there with it, what happens is they increase serotonin in the brain and they just want to fall asleep. You know, they don't want to work, they become distracted in school, and that's what's happening, because the morning breakfast that is most Australians eat is breakfast cereals.
Well, the point of this study that was in the paper this morning was that a variety of food groups, they were saying, where is it here, the more food groups the teens in the study ate at breakfast, the better their mental health.
Yeah, more
so
than
it's a range of them,
it has to be a range, and you've got to have some nutrition in there as well. Like, it's no use having Coca-Cola as one of them, you know, like, it's no use doing that. You have to do the good foods as well, so that they get the vitamins and minerals. But protein, to me, is very, very imperative at breakfast.
Well,
okay, so really what we should be encouraging our kids to have is a boiled egg, a poached egg, a dipping egg, or some sort of egg at breakfast, because that's convenient, isn't it, as well?
It is really convenient. I throw an egg and boil it and have some toast with it.
Yeah. Some fruit or something
and some
like
fruit.
that. Yeah.
That's a perfect breakfast to me.
All right, the increase in depression, anxiety in children, in adults that we see nowadays, can we directly relate that to the food that we eat?
I think that food is a big part of the anxiety, the mood swings and the depression that's now happening. And they're saying by the year 2020 that it's going to be the most debilitating disease. And if you look at what has happened lately, like 10 years ago, the rate of depression was 1 in 20 people. Now it's 1 in 5.
Jeez.
So it's increasing at a fast rate. And my belief is this, is there are two reasons. One is it's the quality of food that we're eating. We are not eating quality foods anymore. We're eating foods that are made in a chemical laboratory, mixed so that they really look like what you used to think was a good food, but in actual fact, the fundamentals of that food are very different.
Okay, so you're talking of basic produce like unbleached flour, good butter off the farm.
A Rapadura sugar, like we talked about last time.
Exactly.
These types of foods, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, eggs, these are the foods that we need to go back to, rather than the foods that they're making for grocery stores, and department stores even now are giving these foods out that are made with like chemically fandangled, technology-changed foods.
Yeah, and the soil has changed, hasn't it? It comes back to the soil as well. I mean, these people that have, these manufacturers that have been producing foods for years and years and years, they can't possibly put the goodness back into the soil. That's got to affect the food, doesn't it?
That's why I go to farmers markets. So, you know, join your farmers markets and get good nutrition out of the soil with your fruits and vegetables, and you know that the farmers markets are going to be doing that for you.
All right, so if we are suffering from depression, what foods will help overcome that?
Well, number one, quality. But number two, when you eat the foods. So in the morning, you want to make sure that you're eating those proteins so that you're ready to go to work, and that not by 10 o'clock you're ready to have another muffin. Like, a lot of people have breakfast cereal, go to work, 9, 10 o'clock they're thinking, oh, how am I going to make it through the day? They have a cup of coffee and a muffin, they've increased the carbohydrate load again, which means they've increased serotonin. Then they have lunch and they might have a cheese sandwich, no protein. Then they go home and they have meat and veg. Then they wonder why they can't sleep. Then the sleep problem makes them more depressed. And then they don't get out in the sun, which makes them even worse. So there are 3 factors. Food, which is quality and the type of food you're eating when you're eating it. 2, you must have sunlight on you. You know, you've just got to get out in the morning, lunch, and just before you go home, make sure you've got sunlight.
To get your vitamin D component.
Yes, exactly. And plus, sunlight has an ability to stop the sleeping hormone melatonin. So as minute you wake up, if you have sunlight on your skin or indirectly into your eyes, melatonin stops. And melatonin is the hormone that you get when the sun goes down. It makes you ready for sleep and to feel really cosy. And
Makes perfect sense. All right, let's talk about making babies.
Yeah.
We want the recipe. What's the recipe for the boy and the recipe for the girl, and does it work?
Well, the study that they've just done says that if you eat more calories and a wide variety of foods with lots of nutrients, then the likelihood of you having a boy is 56%. If you eat less calories with less variety, then the likelihood of you having a boy is 45%.
Well, it's interesting given the statistics in the population, because we're seeing that we have a lot of girls. So what does that tell us? That perhaps there's something in it?
Well, they're saying that we are eating less foods, which I don't know if I agree with, because we seem to be getting more obese. But they say the problem is because we're not exercising and it's not the food. But I kind of disagree with that a bit, because I believe it's the food as well as the exercise that we need to be looking at.
It's not about having a cold shower for the bloke beforehand or anything like that?
They didn't say that. They didn't talk about that. I think that would mean no babies.
Oh, right. OK. Well, yeah.
What about vitamin supplements? You're talking about sunlight, getting sunlight. Vitamin supplements, do they have a role to play?
They do have a role to play in general health, but I don't believe that we need to make them in a chemical laboratory. I believe they need to come from food. So for me, if I want protein, I don't go out and buy soy protein isolate powders or something like that. I will eat an egg. If I need fat in my diet, I don't go out and buy oil capsules. I actually use oil in my diet. Like I'll get a cold pressed almond.
You're not low fat at all, are you?
No, low fat. No. Cold pressed oils, or I'll get fish oils, or those types of things. If I want minerals in my diet, I get colloidal minerals, which are a liquid mineral from a plant. So I always use food in order to get my general health. I never go out and get supplements. Like, you know, the research that was just done where they realised that vitamin A's, I think it was beta-carotene and vitamin D...
are linked to cancer.
Were linked to...
mortality.
Less life, you know, shorter lifespan. So when you look at that, a lot of people are saying, it's flawed, the research is flawed, whereas I don't agree. I believe it's true.
Well, and of course, there are vitamins that are fat-soluble, and if you keep dosing up on those, it is dangerous to your health.
Yeah, it is. And what's happening is that we're saying, wow, vitamin A does this, it makes your eyes better, it does this. Let's take vitamin A out of the food and let's just give it to people individually. But vitamin A is always linked with lots of other nutrients that are needed for biochemical processes in the body to make us healthy, as well as giving us energy.
Oh, I always enjoy chatting with you. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much for coming in.
Cindy.
And we'll be back after this.